Welcome to Retirement Rescue Radio, a show specifically designed to help retirees and pre-retirees maximize their financial efficiency so you can live the retirement lifestyle you've always imagined. Your host is Nate Miller, investment advisor representative and author of the CPR Retirement Rescue Roadmap. Nate discusses thoughts and ideas from some of today's most knowledgeable professionals in the field of finance. He offers strategies along the way to help you make better financial decisions so you can maximize your retirement. This is Retirement Rescue Radio.
Well, hey there, and welcome to another episode of Retirement Rescue Radio. I'm your host, Nate Miller, and it is about 100 degrees today, but it looks like it might have some scattered showers, so at least the humidity is really high to go along with it, right? So instead of having a sport coat and a button up, you're seeing me in a polo today if you are watching this on YouTube or any of the other video channels that we do this on. And so forgive me for not being as dressed up as I normally am. Hopefully that you're forgiving me because it's insanely hot. Today might be a pool day later this late afternoon after the kids are back from camp and all that. So yeah, pretty crazy. So today I want to go through, we've kind of been on a tax kick here recently. And so we're going to keep going on that tax kick. And I think today's title is basically just going to be too much tax, all right? Too much tax. And what I'm doing today is I'm kind of taking the averages of, incomes, taxes that we pay, whether it's federal, state, property tax, real estate tax, you name it. I'm trying to add up all of the different quote taxes. And by gosh, I've missed a ton, right? So these are going to be the main ones, the main areas that people are going to be taxed throughout their lives. And really kind of what percentage of our dollar are we handing over to Uncle Sam? What percentage really? We hear we've got these income tax rates of 10%, 12%, 22%, 24%, 28%, highest is 37%, but what are we actually paying to Uncle Sam with all of these different taxes that we are paying? Well, and I'm going to have numbers and sources like crazy in this one for quoting all of this. So first off, according to thebalance.com, the average single taxpayer, so this is single, will pay 29.8% in three different taxes: income taxes, Social Security taxes, and Medicare taxes. So basically you could call that maybe two taxes, income and FICA. So that includes both federal and state in the income tax, and then the Social Security and Medicare. 29.8, that's the average single taxpayer. Now I know not everybody's single, right? And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the average of almost the average household income throughout America is around $50,000. So I'm just going to use $50,000 for this. And then based off of some of these different websites and percentages that I was able to find, what percentage of our dollar really goes to taxes? And understand, like I said, obviously it's like I can't find all of them. There's way too many. But what this is going to mean is that's actually a larger percentage than what I came up with, is ultimately what the result is going to be. So first off, let's also go by there. See here, which source would this be that is telling me that? Okay, so the average single taxpayer. Okay, so what is the average income tax rate, the effective tax rate? What is the effective tax rate? Well, you've got the 10% and the 12% and the 22 and the 24 and all of these, but you don't pay, like if you end up in the 22% tax bracket, you didn't pay 22% on all your income, because some of it was taxed at 10, some of it was taxed at 12. So what's your effective rate? The effective rate is the blended rate. The average of all of those rates is really what the effective rate is. So what does the average American pay in their effective rate when it comes to taxes? Well, once again, according to thebalance.com, the average income tax rate for all Americans is about 14.6%. So whether or not you hit the 10, 12, 15, 22, whatever tax brackets, the blended rate is about 14.6%. Okay, so remember that number, 14.6%. Now, here's what's interesting. And I want to get this point across because I hear a lot of times, you've got this class envy, this rich are hated by the poor are hated by the rich. I don't know, whatever it is, they're being told to not like the other group because of certain issues. And I know one of the big issues that the poor middle class have with the quote, we'll just put in, air quotes if you're listening to this on audio, is that the rich don't pay their share in taxes. And that is not, when you actually look at the statistics, that is not the case. The problem is we hear about these one-off, stories of this particular billionaire didn't pay anything in income taxes. Well, I guarantee he's paying a heck of a lot in property taxes, real estate taxes, lots of other taxes that he's paying at this point. And plus, that may be taken out of context. Let's just get away from all that, right? Let's actually look at the tax reporting foundations, the places that actually report what type of income levels pay what type of tax, and then figure out what percentage of all of the tax do these different income levels pay, what percentage. And according to the tax foundation, the average tax rate that found out that was like that 14.6 or whatever, they've actually found out that the average tax rate for the top 50% of taxpayers was 16% and just 4% for the bottom 50%. So the top 50% is paying 16% of their overall income. The bottom 50% in income is paying 4%. And that's how we get that average of 14.6, right? But that doesn't even go all the way into it. What percentage of all of the tax that is received by the IRS, by the federal government in 1 year, what percentage of that comes from that top 50%? 97% of all taxes. That's the number. 97% of all of our taxes are paid by the top 50% income earners in America, which leaves 3% being paid by the bottom 50%. So everyone going around talking about how the quote, rich don't pay their share in taxes is not true. Never let someone with an opinion override someone with the facts, right? When you get the facts, you'll never be at the mercy of someone with an opinion. So those are the facts. The top 50% of taxpayers pay 97% of all the taxes in America, right? So here's the problem with what we've been told, or what the politicians have done a unfortunately phenomenal job of, is pitted us against each other and this whole class envy thing. It's like, the way I look at it is this. It's like you're being, there's a bully that beats you up and takes half of your lunch money. And instead of being mad at the bully, you're mad at your friend because they didn't get their lunch money stolen, when we should really be focused on the bully. And yes, I'm calling the federal government or the IRS the bully now in this point, because they've taught us, conditioned us, if you will, to pay attention to the wrong thing, fight amongst ourselves, when really who we should be fighting is the bully, or who we should be keeping in check really is the bully, right? Sometimes bullies just need their butt kicked, and then they're no longer going to bully you, right? And who has to do that? It's us. So we need to remember this when we're voting. Before we go into that, I'll go through all of the different income tax, or all the different taxes now. It's like I've been ranting here for a little bit. I'll probably rant a little bit more, but before I rant too much, I'll start getting into some more of these numbers. So 14.6% is the average overall. But as I said, those numbers are very, very skewed to the top and the bottom, right? But like I said, I'm going to use the $50,000 number for all of these to get my percentages of how much of our income goes to Uncle Sam in the various different taxes. So federal tax, like I said, 14.6%. Kansas, since we are in the state of Kansas, I'm going to use Kansas. Kansas is anywhere from, hang on a second here. I think 3.1 up to 5.7%. Of course, that can come from kansasrevenue.gov. Or .org, I believe. That'll be in the show notes. And so that, and the 5.7 is for anything above $30,000. So if we're at 50, we're above $30,000. So 5.7% for Kansas. And then you've got lovely FICA. FICA is Social Security and Medicare. Social Security is 6.2 on your wages. And if you're making $50,000, you haven't hit the wage cap, so you're paying 6.2 on all of it. And Medicare is 1.45. So we've got 14.6, 5.7, 6.2, 1.45. Now, real estate taxes. So according to smartasset.com, Kansas roughly is about 1.37%. So it says while the typical homeowner in Kansas pays about $2,237 annually in real estate taxes, the property taxes are fairly high. The average property tax rate as a percentage of the home value is about 1.37%. Okay, so 1.37%. So let's say that you've got a house that's worth about $250,000. So that means about $3,425 a year is what you're paying in taxes. And that is about 6.85% of your $50,000. So now you've got almost another 7% just on that. And we actually on, let's see here, personal property tax. Yeah, kansasrevenue.org. I found the formula on how they figure out how much property tax you're going to pay. You take your appraised value times the 30%, and then you get the assessed, that's your assessed rate. You take that rate times the mill levy, which is 134 times 0.245. Then you divide that by 1,000. All right. So you take the value times 30% times 134.245 divided by 1,000. That gives you your property tax rate. So let's figure you've got a couple vehicles, right? I know a lot of people will buy a vehicle about $20,000. So usually you're going to have a couple of those. And so let's apply that formula there. And we have about $1,600 maybe in taxes that we're paying. And that's about 3.22% of that $50,000. Now, sales tax. So sales tax in Lawrence, where I live, is 9.3%. And a portion of that is going to be state income tax, and then you've got your local income tax, okay? And it's 9.3%. So let's do some math there. I don't know how much people are going to spend on different things throughout their year, but let's say about $800 a month on food, and then let's put the sales tax on that. We are looking at $800 a month. So you're going to be spending about $74 a month on just the taxes on your food, which that's about $892 for the year, or almost 2%, 1.79% of the $50,000 that you're paying on tax on your food, just on your food. Not if you go to Home Depot and you're making some repairs on your house and you got to buy God forbid, you got to buy some lumber right now, right? Might as well just trade gold bars for lumber right now. So there's that. And now excise taxes. What are excise taxes assessed on? Well, the main couple ones that I found were gasoline, because we use a lot of gasoline. Especially if you're still commuting, you're going to be driving, you're going to be filling up a lot. So that goes in. And cell phones. So gasoline right now is 24 cents a gallon, according to iGenTax.com. 24 cents per gallon is what you're paying on the excise tax. And for cell phones, roughly 22.5% of your bill, according to taxfoundation.org, is going to go to taxes. 22.5% of your cell phone bill. So say you got a $300 bill. That's 1.62% of that $50,000. And the gasoline, actually it only ends up, if let's say you fill up 30 gallons a month, which for some of us, that might mean, if you got a 16-gallon tank, maybe you fill up twice, right? And so 30 gallons a month, that is going to be, it's not actually that big of a percentage of the 50,000, like 0.17% of that. So it wasn't that huge. 24 cents a gallon apparently is not that big of a deal when the price of gas is like $2.50 or something. So what does this mean? Well, let's add all these up. We got the 14.6, 5.7, 6.2, 1.45, 6.85, 3.22, 1.79, 0.17, and 1.62. What percentage of your money, if you're making $50,000 per year, what percentage is going to Uncle Sam? 41.6%. 41.6%. So of your $50,000, that 41.6% is going to Uncle Sam. What does that equal? Excuse me while I'm pushing the buttons here. $20,800 is going to Uncle Sam. So we wonder sometimes why we can't get ahead. There's your reason right there. Back in 1913, the top tax rate in America, income tax rate, was 7%. Right now, it's 37%. So a lot of times, and just to give a lot of you out there insight into how I vote, I have a couple non-negotiables when I vote, and that helps me vote. To heck with a lot of the other things that we can either give or take, but the non-negotiables that I have are taxes and abortion. So those are two big non-negotiables that I have. There's a lot of other things that go into how I vote, but those are going to be two big non-negotiables for me. I happen to believe actually, I happen to not believe in abortion. Sorry, I would rather have that not happen. I do believe that life starts at conception. That's how I believe. You're free to disagree with me. That's, and we can still be friends. That's the beauty of the actual way that we're supposed to discuss, is not to discuss on who's right or wrong, is to understand somebody's point of view and not cancel someone because they have a different viewpoint than we do. And I also believe that a smaller government is better than a larger government. And so we are to keep the government in check. And you can tell by the way someone talks what they want to do with taxes. Are they more in favor of a larger government or a smaller government? If they want more taxes, higher taxes, they're in favor of a bigger government. If they want to lower taxes, they are in favor of a smaller government. And so that's how I'm going to vote, is those two are going to be some non-negotiables. And then we'll see what happens with all the rest of them. Right. And so once again, going back to that class envy, right, we're being taught to be mad at our friend because they didn't get as much of their lunch money stolen, maybe, instead of being mad at the bully who stole the lunch money. And the federal government is the one that's taking our lunch money, right? And right now they're doing it legally, right? Because of how we voted everything in. And so when we go to the polls, that's what we need to remember, is like, what's going to happen? Do we want 41.6? So the idea is not like, should the rich pay more or the poor pay more or the middle class pay more? That's not the argument. The argument should not be that. Who should pay more? The argument should be, fundamentally, do we believe it is right for for someone to pay half of their income to the government? Is that fundamentally, morally right? I don't believe it is. I don't. That's me. Maybe some of you out there do, but a lot of my clients I don't believe do. We've had a lot of those conversations. So fundamentally, is it right for a governing body to take almost half, or in some cases, I mean, this is just one example, and I didn't even get all the taxes here. Is that fundamentally right? Morally right? That's the question we should be asking. Instead of fighting each other, we should turn our gaze to the real culprit of what's causing all these issues. Okay. And so I'm probably going to get a lot of emails at asknate@retirementrescueradio.com, either saying good job or you don't know what you're talking about. I welcome both of them. We'll have a good, healthy discussion about it. But remember, guys, it's like, these are the numbers. These are the statistics. Don't let the media sway you because someone has an opinion. I actually saw I think it was a meme or a cartoon here recently that actually I think sums up a lot of what's going on right now in our culture. And it was basically Jeopardy. It was a game show, and it was a picture of the three contestants, and the captions said, and I can't remember what their names were. I'm just going to make those up. It said, Bob, technically your answer was correct, but Tom shouted his opinion louder than you, so he's going to get the point. And not only that, Jane was actually offended by what you said, so you're going to get a point taken away, and it's going to get awarded to Jane. That's what we're in right now. It's like the actual truth out there seems to not matter because we've got so many people spouting their opinions much louder than the truth. And so we're unable to recognize or discern what's real and what's not. And so if we actually go to the sources that have numbers and we can do our own thinking, we'll be much better off than just taking the word of what some people might say because they have an agenda. If you didn't know that, everybody does. So that's it, guys. Hopefully you didn't care or you were okay with my ranting for this episode. I don't do it very often, but every now and then something just has to, it's been on my heart enough. Or it's been angering me for long enough, I finally need to say something about it. And this is one of those. Taxes are insanely high. Income taxes are probably going to go higher. as well because of all of the stimulus packages and everything else. I mean, the top tax rates in history have gone all the way up to 94%. With the federal income tax, 94% was the top rate at one point. And for a couple of decades, actually almost about 40 years, the top tax rate never went below 70%, right? So it's been there before in history. It could get back to there. And right now, taxes are one of the lowest places that they've ever been throughout history. They're not back to that 7% back in 1913, definitely. But they are historically low compared to what we've seen throughout history. And so if there's anything that needs to happen as far as movements that need to be made or tax assessments on your portfolio to make sure that you're not going to pay too much unnecessary tax should some of this stuff, come to fruition, then reach out to us. Click the link, ask Nate at retirementrescueradio.com, whatever. It's like click the calendar link to schedule some time on our calendar or email us. You go to our website, you'll be able to find contact information everywhere. There should not be any possible way of not finding out how to get a hold of us. So that's it, guys. Appreciate you tuning in and stay tuned for another episode next week. Maybe it'll be tax focused, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe we'll get off that vein for a little while so I don't sound so angry. All right. Take care.